So what really stood out to me the most was just being surrounded by so many different just things of art, not just visual art, not just music, but also dance, also theater. I would go to like a lot of the plays. I would go to all the museums. If I got off early one day from school, as soon as I got off, I would walk to one of the many museums in this area, whether they're across the street, or the DMA, or here, and just enjoy what it had to offer. Because I personally feel like it's easy to create when you engage with more forms of art, as many mediums as you can. Which is one really fun and cool part about going to school at Booker T everybody was doing art. People were practicing their dance in the hallway. If you walked down to the little art hall, people were working on their paintings, their sketches. Musicians were constantly just like practicing, and you'd hear it reverberating. I definitely think that feeds just being in such a hub. And traveling around as much as I do, I become very surprised at how much of a hub Dallas is for art. Like as growing up, I just didn't think. I was younger. I didn't realize that Dallas was such a hub for the arts. Art that I find inspiring for what I do, I actually went to school at Booker T for theater, and then I took music classes here and there when I could. I took as many music theory courses as possible. But I find acting and actors to be a big source of inspiration, because I think one thing that isn't touched on enough, at least in pop music, is the emotion aspect. And like one thing I love, for example, of like artists like Childish Gambino, he's an actor too, and you can hear inflection in his voice and in his music. He tells stories in his songs that I don't think is I don't see it very often. And so that was one thing I really tried to emulate, was imitating the emotion. Like in my song Think of Me, I try really hard to do like sound design. So I put like room noise from like my bedroom where I wrote it, because I wanted you to feel like you were in there, you were sad, you were alone, you were depressed. And then I have this part where I go, I have like this breath of just, everybody knows what that feels like when you're depressed and you just go, yeah, and I definitely find inspiration in the way actors can convey emotion. And I think that can go second hand with music. Dallas is constantly changing. There will just be new venues and new things all over DFW that I just didn't even know about. And I'll just come here and like, my booking agents will be like, hey, there's a show here. I'm like, I didn't know that this venue existed. And even like, I was gone for 6 months for a while, and I came back, and there was new arts, sculptures and stuff, just all over Dallas. There were new restaurants, there were new everything. It definitely like holds a little place in my heart, because like I said, I went to high school here. So I get in this little area, and I just get a little nostalgic, because high school's a much simpler time. There's definitely a lot of letdowns. You need to prepare for everything to always constantly go wrong. But when those things go wrong is when you really start to see like what you're capable of. Like when you're overworked, when you're tired, when you show up and you forgot something and you have to think of something on your feet. That's when you really learn like what your capabilities are. And I would tell him to not let that discourage him as much as it should, because that's something I've really grown to learn as I've gotten older.